Hi there, I'm Lisa Graham, and my digital media presentation is focusing on low socioeconomic students. And the audience that I have this intended for is the staff that I work with as a way to kick off the school year and address some of the needs of this really sensitive population for us. So, this is what I would be presenting to staff as they come and join us for our initial back to school PD days. So as we're caring for our socioeconomic students, some of you may be asking kind of the why. Why are we spending time investing in this with all of our other campaigns? And some pieces that I want to share with you as we get the school year kicked off is I don't know if there's an awareness that we actually have a growing population of SES students and that these kids come to us with really unique needs. I think as teachers, you felt that in the classroom and you've seen that, but we haven't really been able to identify some of the issues and concerns that we're having, maybe with one student body or one student population. So I also want to talk about how we're going to utilize and start to plan some of our funding, and then where do we even begin as we start the school year? How do we start to help this community? So to cover some of the percentages of where we stand as a district right now, I want you to see the growth and how our overall school population has changed. SES students are qualified for us by qualifying for free and reduced lunch, and those are the numbers that we use to track our student population. So 3 years ago when I started in 17-18, our numbers were about 35%. If you look at our enrollment for next year, our projections show that we're going to finally clear the 50% threshold. And that puts us in a whole different category. And that's a significant amount of growth over a 4-year period. So for us, that should be eye-opening to show that we have student needs and we need to make sure that we're addressing those needs along the way. So doing some research, I've been working and looking at some of the information that the American Psychological Association, or the APA, has put out. And I think what they've shared isn't a surprise to you as teachers. Our low SES kids are coming to us lacking some of these basic fundamental early childhood skills that we tend to take for granted that are just happening, like reading each night, having access to technology and learning toys, and lacking and having a deficit in some of these fundamental skills. We're seeing that play out when our kids come to us. We know that they have that toxic, what we can qualify as toxic stress. We can feel it. We can see it as educators. We know that our kids are emotionally distressed, that they have higher behavior issues. They're twice as likely to display some of those learning problems. And that what we're dealing with on the back end is some of those, by the time they get to junior high, we're dealing with some of the depression. And as they continue to move on, they have higher high school dropout rates than any of our other students. So we know that's there, and the question becomes, how do we start to connect what we know with some solutions? So one piece that we're responsible for in our LCAP is, here's the official language of what LCAP says about unduplicated pupils, and that includes our SES students. But what I want to share with you is really the reality of what does that mean. So that language really means that we have extra dollars that are given to us by the state of California to spend on our SES kids specifically. So how we spend those has to be different than how we spend money on our general education students and our general population. So as teachers, as we move through this school year, we need to make some decisions about how do we best spend those dollars appropriately. I need your input. And then we also need to know overall, who are our kids and how do they benefit from these programs? So if we look at some next steps, one thing that we're going to move into is an article about 5 practical ways that we can start to help. And I've outlined 5 off to the side really quick that we can focus on teaching with our kids' social needs in mind. And we're going to fly through this now, but we're really going to go into depth later. Addressing health concerns for our low SES kids is going to be paramount. Looking at ways to be creative, ways that we can include kids in the learning process, and then ways that we can challenge them and not leave them out of the conversation of learning. And there's a link here that we're going to link to and get really deep into this article. So the overall goal is that looking at SES students within our community, we're looking at this as a first step in a long journey this school year. We're going to have a lot of conversations, a lot of communication about this population and ways that we can look at helping address the needs that are brought to the table to make learning that process, it becomes meaningful and relevant for these kiddos, but also helps you as a teacher navigate some of the struggles that we see brought to the table. These kids are worth it. They are fantastic. They're a fantastic population. I know you feel it. I know we feel it. And we really just want to support them the best we can. All right.